Hello, Bronco fans and football fans everywhere. Welcome to Broncos Breakdown on the MHRT Network. I am your host, Bronco Bill. This is my co-host and not a guest. I know it says guest, but co-host because he's going to bring in his analysis and things like that on the show. So don't hold back, Mario. Whatever. By the way, this is no stranger to the MHRT Network. This is Mario Vetanze, better known as the guru of body healing of Colorado. This guy does it all. Mario, thanks so much for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Bronco Bill, look at my microphone.
I know. What is that?
It's just a great microphone. You know, Mike actually gave me a lot of crap because the last few times that I've been on MHRT, I had mic problems. I had audio problems. Well, those problems are a thing of the past because I got a new mic. Check that thing out. Look at that. And it makes my hand look massive. So it's a win-win for everybody. No, man, I'm ready. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm ready to talk some Broncos, baby. I got the fever. It's back.
I can tell you're wearing 77. Carl Mecklenburg. Is that Mecklenburg?
Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's old school throwback jersey, too. That's pretty sweet. I like that. I have a
Hey,
John
I
Elway
did.
like
Yeah, I had to pay homage, right? He's this close. We think that it's all everything's in motion and it's gonna happen now, right? But I just want to put off as much positive energy into the universe as possible. He deserves it. He's deserved it for a long time.
Absolutely.
So we're repping Mecklenburg tonight.
There you go. Hey, what do you think? I know this is not part of the topics, but hey, you know, when you're on the show, we go in so many different directions, so it's all good.
We were all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about Gradishar? Finally, I mean, seriously, only the first person since the '77 Orange Crush team. Come on, man.
I mean, Gradishar's finally there, right? So it has to happen. It's overdue. Like, Gradishar, he should have been in a long time ago. Mecklenburg should have been in a long time ago. We're so close. We're so close to getting it. And it has to happen. Like, I don't know what else to say. I don't have anything smart or witty to say about it. It's just, it has to happen. It's way overdue.
Oh, absolutely. And what about Shanahan? What does the guy have to do to get in the Hall of Fame? My gosh, man.
I don't know what the problem is. I've talked about this with so many people. It just doesn't make any sense, right? And you look at the NFL nowadays, something like a third of the teams have some sort of descendancy from Mike Shanahan. The fact that there is such thing as a Shanahan offense should tell you everything that you need to know about Mike Shanahan. I mean, it's just one of those things, Bronco Bill. There's a litany of Bronco players who you could probably talk about going into the Hall. And obviously Gradishar, it seems like it's going to happen. Mecklenburg, it has to happen maybe eventually. But Mike Shanahan is now going to be the most glaring omission, especially because he didn't make it this year. And I don't know if the NFL needs to change their rules about how it all works, but it's flawed. It's not as flawed as baseball. Baseball is an absolute joke. Like, their Hall of Fame is laughable, and it's probably why baseball is not as popular of a sport as it should be. But that's another topic for another day. No, the NFL needs to fix things.
Yeah,
you know, it's the thing that they say, their measuring stick is, can you tell the story of football without this person? And honestly, Bill, there's a lot of players in the Hall of Fame that do not live up to that bill.
Absolutely.
I mean, I would wager to say like a third of the guys that are in the Hall, and it's no disrespect to them, but like, that's you're talking about a handful of guys when you're talking about the story of football, right? And we've now gotten to the point where Mike Shanahan is one of those people. You cannot tell the story of football today without Mike Shanahan having his hands all over it.
Absolutely.
And yes, Mundungus, you are still my favorite. You're my favorite, Mike. But look at this. Look at this thing. That's the greatest thing that I've ever seen. This is a close second to my favorite Mike.
Hey, Cameron says that mic is not actually small. Mario's hands are just that big.
That's kind of the optical illusion I'm going for, right? I have a weirdly small mic. It's like, this is totally a normal size mic, but yeah, I just have big old mitts.
Oh, that's good, man. That's good. I forgot to mention at the beginning, we got a sidetrack like always. You're coming out with a new show of
yes.
called Altitude Adjustment. So that's pretty cool.
Altitude Adjustment. Yeah, it's a matter of fact, it was a few months ago. I kind of low-key did some crowdsourcing and was like, man, if I ever did a show, because I had something in the works and it's been in the works for a while and I've had to iron out some details and it's really close. I just need to decide when to drop it, right? And I was kind of crowdsourcing on Twitter and I asked, yeah, if I ever do a show, what should I call it? And I got a lot of really, really great suggestions. And there were a couple people that said Altitude Adjustment. And I thought that was so perfect, right? The hoodies that I've done that I became quote unquote famous for, they say I'm well adjusted, or they say well adjusted on the back, which is, of course, I'm paying homage to my dad when he used to do hoodies and shirts. They used to say I am well adjusted. It took me a while. It took me until I was older to actually understand that reference. But yeah, there was a few people that had suggested that. I loved it. I ran with it. D-Line Co. over at DNVR made the logo. Mike made the intro that I posted. And yeah, it will be probably sometime this weekend is when we're going to get the first episode of Altitude Adjustment. Nice.
So are you going to be unavailable to be on our shows again? Because you're going to be way up here.
No. Listen, first of all, if that were to happen, which I highly doubt, I just want to have fun with this. I want to entertain people. I want to educate people as best I can. If this puts me into the stratosphere of a Brandon Perna, I'm going to handle it the same way that Brandon Perna does. He's the coolest guy ever. You never know that he is such a big shot because he never big times anybody. Yeah. So I assure you, if inexplicably this thing blows up and I exit the stratosphere, I will never, ever big time you or anybody at MHRT. You will have my time and attention anytime I can give it.
That's cool, man. Well, good. Congratulations. I know it's going to be a success. And
I hope so.
I wish you all the best, man. Wish you all the best.
I appreciate that.
Send me a link or something. I want to check it out. Know when it's on.
Absolutely. As soon as it's posted, it'll be up on YouTube. And yeah, I'm going to send the link to literally everybody that I know.
Yeah, good idea. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the 41-0 beatdown. Now, I know guys out there, before you say anything, yes, it was second and third string and all that. I get that. But 41-0 beatdown at home felt really good to go heading into the season.
It felt fantastic. And I'm with you, Bill. I get it. It's preseason. And I don't like when people say the games don't count. The final score doesn't count. The games count.
Sure.
Right? This, you're talking about the livelihood of 90 men and whether or not they're going to continue living their dreams. So, of course, the games matter. They count in a different way. And here's the thing. I actually talked to a handful of players about that, even the guys that didn't play, that were on the sideline. And I was like, man, I know it was preseason, but that had to feel good, right? Every single one of them, they matched that energy. They were like, you don't know how bad we needed that. That felt amazing. It doesn't matter the scenario. It doesn't matter the situation, because at the end of the day, you're competing. You are playing a sport and you want to win. Again, the final score may not matter in the preseason. These guys want to win. They're athletes. That's what athletes do. If you are an athlete, you understand. It doesn't matter if it's preseason or I got a pickup football game that I invite people to. I'm incredibly competitive. It doesn't those results don't matter. Nobody is affected either way, but that's how athletes carry themselves. So I think you have as much momentum right now as you could possibly have going into the season. And again, I realize that could sound a little silly because it's preseason, but 41-0 is a straight up and down ass whooping.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And that is something that this team needed to see. They needed to know that they could put their foot on the gas, keep their foot on the gas, and then throw it in reverse and back over them and put it in drive and then run over their ass again, because that's exactly what they did. And now they know that they can do that, the situation notwithstanding.
Right. And you take our ones with our number one defense out there, it could very well be that. What Stidham was on fire, but and I know I'm jumping ahead. Oh yes,
That's right, Studham.
Studham, yeah. I know I'm jumping ahead with some of the players that were cut, some of that. My thing that frustrated me, and I talked to Madungus about this, and I'm still a fan, so I'm still going to think it's a fan. He thinks intellectually, which is not what I do. I think it's a fan.
Yeah,
I was ticked off at the trade of Okawebunam. That ticked me off because he played his heart out. And I understand he's not the greatest blocker in the world, but you know what? In my opinion, I think you can work on that. But what he did, and going to Philadelphia with an offense that loves to throw the ball, this guy's going to light it up.
Yeah, I wish nothing but the best for Alberto. I wish the situation could have been different. You know, he was kind of the victim of a lot of incompetent offensive coordinators and coaching staffs. And we saw it firsthand last year, right? He was inexplicably being benched, never really got a justification as to why. And then when Rosberg takes over, he actually puts Alberto in the game plan, and lo and behold, he made some plays.
Yeah.
I don't think his athletic ability is in question at all. And I think if it was a different kind of offense and a different kind of philosophy and mindset, and maybe, you know, the personnel was a little bit different, Alberto would absolutely be on this team. Again, it's not for lack of talent or skill. We're running a Sean Payton offense. They want to run 2 tight ends. Sometimes we're going to see 3 tight ends. We're going to see a fullback in there. We've been depleted at the wide receiver position. We still don't really know what it's going to look like going into week 1 about the status of Jerry Jeudy, if he's going to play or not. But Sean Payton wants to run the ball, and he's going to run the ball. And I think the biggest handcuff that you have with Alberto is you have a Greg Dulcich. And as good as Alberto is, Greg Dulcich is a better version, right? And they're already going to be in a little bit of a predicament if Dulcich does not get better at blocking. Because if you put Dulcich into a 2 tight end set, do they actually believe that you're going to run the ball, or do they think that it's going to be play action, right? And so to that extent, like, because of what Sean Payton wants to do, it didn't surprise me, but that doesn't mean it's not frustrating, especially considering the fact that you need pass catchers. This is the NFL. Whether you want to run the ball or not, you have to have guys that can catch the ball, that can get open, that can make things happen after the catch. And Alberto displayed all of those things. Again, I'm psyched for him. I think Philadelphia is one of the perfect places for him. And good on him. You know, he gets to go to the team that represented the NFC in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what, that one-handed catch that he made, that to me, I thought for sure that solidified him being on the 53. If nothing else, put him on the practice squad or something.
It felt like the cherry on top, right? Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Some of these things I've already put up here, but for those who, you know, maybe are just listening or something, Cameron says that 41-0 beatdown was our revenge for Christmas. I totally agree.
I'll take it.
Even though it wasn't counted, doesn't matter because it felt good. It felt good. Avatar is always the first one in the house, but he said he was late. Hey, no problem, man. It's all good. Really appreciate it.
What's up, Avatar? Thanks for watching, man.
So a couple of guys that really irritated me for being released. And I understand, especially because the first 3 I'm going to mention are wide receivers. One of them was from the Saints under Sean Payton. That was Marquez Callaway. How in heaven's name do they waive him? And especially since we have Tim Patrick down, KJ Hamler down, and Jerry Jeudy down. I mean, I don't know how in heaven's name you that. And I don't know. Were you ever at the practices out there?
I did see a couple practices and talking to some of the people and some of the players. Like, honestly, it sounds like he came into camp, he was a little bit overweight, and Sean Payton actually he made reference to that. I'm pretty sure he called him out. And he just didn't pop, you know, and I understand, like, it's frustrating, and you see a name like Marquez Callaway, and you hope that he can get back, you know, the kind of season that he had, I believe, in 2021 when he didn't explode, but in terms of like a wide receiver 3 and 4, he had a phenomenal season, and it just seemed like they weren't going to get that out of him. So yeah, I mean, they cut ties. Here's the other way to look at it, Bill. They have a shortage of wide receivers. Obviously, we think that's a problem. We hope that Jerry Jeudy can start week 1, because if not, like, really, you have 3 starting receivers. Maybe they call up, you know, a Philip Dorsett or somebody else to fill that void. But on the inverse, on the other side of it, if you are that hand-strong at wide receiver and you're lacking that much depth because of injuries and whatever else, and you still want to release a guy, that tells me that he simply did not do enough. And it seemed like the cards were stacked against him. Like, it seemed like when they signed him and when Tim Patrick went down and KJ Hamler was already out, it's like, well, Callaway by default should have been wide receiver 3.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like this was a competition they wanted him to win. He's a Sean Payton guy. He knows the Sean Payton offense. He's trying to, rebound from 2022 and have a better year. He just didn't do it. He just did not do enough, like, despite the fact that the deck was stacked for him. So that's the way that I see it. It's like, if you're that desperate for wide receiver and you still feel bad enough about a guy that you can release him despite all of that, clearly he ain't it.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what Cam says here in the chat. He says, yeah, Callaway is one Peyton truly had to be disappointed with for him to move on. There you go. You nailed it. Yeah.
Peyton,
absolutely.
and you know what? Peyton got accused of a little bit of nepotism, if that's what you can call it. Like, what did he do? He came to Denver and he immediately signed a ton of Saints players. It was guys that he was familiar with, that were familiar with him. And this is part of the business. Like, you have a head coach that believes in you, that you've produced for. He will bring you with him wherever he goes. And that's what we saw. But a lot of those guys didn't make the roster. If I'm not mistaken, the only former Saint that is on the current roster that Sean Payton had kind of like brought in during this whole process is Troutman, who's a tight end that they traded for, a guy, if I'm not mistaken, who was drafted by Sean Payton specifically to be a blocker, but then he can also catch a little bit. All the other Saints players that they brought in, they're either on the practice squad or they're gone.
Right. Now, DiNucci wasn't from he wasn't a Sean Payton guy, was he? DiNucci wasn't a Sean Payton guy.
No, I believe DiNucci's time in the NFL, he was with Dallas.
That's right.
And then he spent last year in the XFL.
That's right. But he's on the practice
DiNucci.
That's good. Hey, you do that well, man.
It's DiNucci.
I wonder why. He's on the practice squad, which is good. What surprises me, though, is the Broncos are only carrying 2 quarterbacks. I'm wondering why. That's what I'm wondering.
I think it has a lot to do with depth. This is a team that going into training camp, they were not deep at offensive line. They were not deep at defensive line. Now, all of a sudden, they're not deep at wide receiver.
Right.
They're deep in the secondary. And that's kind of it right now, right?
And tight end.
I think, and tight end. And so I think it's just one of those things where that's a coveted position. And 90% of the time, we can say, 95% of the time, probably more, like statistically, the odds of you using 3 quarterbacks in a game, it's astronomical. Now, if it happens, obviously you're screwed. But it's a risk, right? It's a risk reward thing, right? Like we saw it, and I know how rare it is, but then it happened in the NFC Championship game where Purdy gets hurt, Johnson gets hurt, and then all of a sudden, they don't have an emergency quarterback that they can use. But it shouldn't be overstated, like how unbelievably rare it is that happens. So I think DiNucci is where he needs to be, and honestly, like maybe they can rework the roster. Or there'll be changes where you can call up a guy. So there are inactives every week, right? So maybe before the game, if you know that guys are going to be active, bump DiNucci up from the practice squad and say, all right, well, we have our 3 quarterbacks. I think it's more important to focus on the fact that he's still there. Because honestly, in terms of a quarterback room and in terms of like an emergency quarterback, which is what DiNucci would, for all intents and purposes, be, you could do a lot worse.
Right.
And he's Italian, so of course he's fantastic.
Exactly. I do have a question regarding your line of work. When you have a Jerry Jeudy and you have a Kwan Williams that are injured but expected to come back, are you allowed to treat them outside the facility, or is that an NFL taboo?
Well, I can't really talk too much about that, but like keep in mind, like I'm independent, right? Like, so I don't work for the team. So anybody that I do work on, they're seeing me in their own time. I'm not affiliated with the team, so they would be seeing me outside the facility. Yeah,
sure. No, but I just was wondering if, as long as if the season is going on, if you are like basically hands off.
Oh no.
Wow.
It's honestly, it's up to them. Like if Jerry wants to come in and get work, and it'll depend on how much free time he's given, because typically when guys are injured, they keep them in the training room. They want to monitor them pretty much 24/7. But it's at their leisure. If
cool.
guys want to come in for extra work, whether they're hurt or not, yeah, it's completely up to them.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I've absolutely worked on guys who are on the IR, who are hurt, who maybe missed a couple games, trying to work them back. Honestly, that's when it's arguably the most imperative.
Sure. And that's why they're back on the field a lot quicker, like Devontae Williams. I'm giving you props, man. I don't know. I'm just saying he did come back pretty. You have to admit that's taken.
Honestly, I'm going to be honest. I can take zero credit for that. Javonte is a freak of nature. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, there are guys who could have that kind of injury, and they could spend millions of dollars on treatment, on therapy, on cutting edge, brand new things. And they would not have come back as quickly and as strong as Javonte Williams. Sometimes dudes are just built different. And I think that's the only explanation for Javonte.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get in some of your, I want to get in some of yours towards the end of the show of, some stories and stuff like that. Okay. Let's go into some key games that are on the Broncos schedule that you personally feel is either a slam dunk win, a close win, a close loss, or just blown out the waters loss. Okay.
So I'm not going to say Eddie is a blown out of the water loss. I don't want to go there.
I don't want to go there either.
Nothing like that. No blowout losses, please.
Okay. Close loss, close win, or blowout win. Okay. Let's take the 4 primetime games that we have. First off, the first one is week 6 at Kansas City, Thursday night, October 12th.
I think it's a close loss, and it pains me to say that, of course. But you got to beat that freaking team. For the love of God. We can't keep saying every single year, we got to beat them, we got to beat them, we got to beat them. They know, we know. Everybody knows. Everybody knows about the streak. Everybody knows that we haven't beaten them since the year Super Bowl, and there's literally 0 dudes on this team that were on the team last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs. Yeah. So I want to, and that's it. I want to drink the orange Kool-Aid. I want to look at everything through orange and blue colored glasses. That's how I've lived my whole life. But I have to be realistic. I will not believe that they can beat that team until they beat that team, because they have given us no reason to think. And the thing that makes me say that, not only have they beaten us, we find ways to lose. You could look back at least half of those games or more, like the majority of the games that they've lost. The Chiefs, it's been less about the Chiefs beating them and more about they beat themselves. Yeah. There's always 1 or 2 or 3 plays where they just find ways to lose. They have to get over that hump. They've got to get the monkey off their back. I do think that they beat the Chiefs in Denver this year, but prime time on a short week in Kansas City, tough ask.
Okay, so it's a close loss or a big loss?
I think that's a close loss. If I had to say, I'll just say this. I think their biggest loss is going to be Buffalo Monday night.
Wow.
That's just going to get into that.
So we'll get into
it. It's a team that they've struggled with. That is a really, really difficult place to play. It's going to be nice and frigid up there. Hopefully they go a day early.
Yes,
aside
November
from like going the day before.
It's November 13th.
But if I had to say, I would say that's probably the biggest loss, because you're twisting my arm. And then I'll look at Dick Coxedge here. What a fantastic name. I do have a question regarding training. Soft tissue injuries are seemingly a bit more common. What training can be done or treatment to avoid these injuries? That's an amazing question. And honestly, Dick, I wish that I had a better answer for you. And sorry, I don't mean to be condescending. If you don't go by Dick and your name's Richard, sorry, I went on a little bit of rant there. No, Richard, sorry. I wish I had the answer to that. The fact of the matter is every single body is different. I mean, some guys can take hit after hit after hit after hit and be fine. Some dudes can take one hit and maybe they hit them just right or just wrong and they get hurt. Maybe somebody is, they're nursing a different injury and it results in something else. Like maybe they're playing hurt instead of injured and it exacerbates something. Maybe they didn't have enough water. Maybe they don't have enough electrolytes. Like there's just so much that goes into it that all I can say is the best thing for these guys to do, that something that a lot of them do, it's injury prevention. It's getting body work done. They get acupuncture, massage, chiropractic, you name it. These guys, the guys that stay on the field, the guys who, when they do get hurt, they make the recoveries and they get back on the field sooner. They take care of their bodies. They invest in their bodies. They've seen guys like LeBron James who spend millions of dollars on their body every single year, and they tend to follow that route. And some of them see me, some of them don't. Some of them have other processes. And that's really the best way to prevent it. But when you're talking about injuries, like I know it seems that we've been snake bitten recently. It's football. It's a collision sport. We're in Colorado, a mile high, where the air is thin. And if I had to wager a guess, I'd say that probably had something to do with the fact that we seem to get injured more than any other team. But again, if I had the answer to that, I'd have way more money because I don't think anyone has a definitive answer to that.
Yeah. Cameron just threw a punch at Madungus, saying Broncos not being the Chiefs right now is like Nebraska in one-score games. Ooh, that's
yeah. Well, Cam is a pitiful Nebraska fan too. Okay, so it's not a shot at Mike. It's just they want to wallow in misery together. Okay,
I didn't know.
And they're just upset. They're just upset because they were so sure that Matt Rule was going to be the answer, just like the last 5 coaches that they've hired. It's like, well, this is the guy. This is the guy now. No, you're done. You're irrelevant. Nebraska will never ascend to the level they were in the 90s. They will never reach the mountaintop in mine or your lifetime. Cameron. Go Bucks.
I'm sorry I brought that up, but hey, he posted it, so I better bring it
up.
No,
he knew what he was doing. He knew.
Okay, the second one, which you touched on, the second primetime, Monday, November 13th at Buffalo. You don't think it's going to be cold?
How about that? No, I'm saying it's going to be, going to be freezing. I was saying that was one of the reasons that,
I was being facetious.
Okay. No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not looking forward to it, but that's a big ask. I've been to that stadium. It is wild. It is a ton of fun. Those fans are insane. They're amazing. That is exactly the kind of atmosphere I would love to play for if I was a player.
Read that.
And it's just, that is a really difficult place to go into, especially prime time, and get a win. So again, you're twisting my arm because I want to do good content here, but yeah.
Cool.
Rich, if you do go out there, you got to bring them luck. Cause here's the thing, bro, you go out to that game and they lose, you're done. You're done. You don't get to go to anymore. That's how it is. We are in a transitional period as Bronco fans, and anybody else listening, if you did not see them win a game last year, like if you went to games and they only lost, you're no longer allowed to go. You have lost the right. I don't care if you're a season ticket holder, sell them or give them to me because you don't get to go.
I kind of wonder if did Madungus go there last year, and did they win? I don't recall. I think he went there last year, but he's going to go.
I'm pretty sure
this
he
year.
And Glenn went out.
Yeah, he's going to go again this year. So if they didn't win, is that apply to him too?
I'm pretty sure. Well, we can honestly assume that they probably lost given everything that happened. But
yeah, true.
Listen, because Mike has done so much for me and he made my amazing intro graphic for my show, give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, exempt. Mike, You get one more chance, Mike. Okay? The bearded blur gets one more chance. And if they lose again, you're out. You're out. You're cut off. No more Bronco games until they win another Super Bowl.
Oh, that's classic, man. That's classic. Okay, so you have Buffalo, and I'm not going to say a blowout, but I'm going to say it's not going to be that close.
Marginal victory, yeah.
Okay. Followed the very next game, November 19th at Denver, Minnesota Vikings.
That's the one that I'm really looking forward to. First of all, I cannot wait to see PS2 versus Justin Jefferson. In fact, you got to think that was pretty much the entire reason that the NFL wanted this game in prime time.
Oh, sure.
But you know why they're going to win this game, Bronco Bill?
Why is that?
Because they get Kirk Cousins in prime time. And anybody that knows anything about Kirk Cousins, it's that he's a very underrated fantasy option, and he's terrible in prime time. Kirk Cousins chokes with the lights on. And no, Richie Rich, the Vikings absolutely will not beat us. That's bad fandom, and that's bad logic. They're not going to lose. You know why? They lost their running game. They have an all-world wide receiver. They have a very very average defense. Kirk Cousins is getting older. The Vikings are not going to be as good as people think. The Vikings are not going to be that good. Wait, what's up, Awana Beast?
Hey, yeah.
And the Broncos are going to roll him. Kirk Cousins ain't winning a primetime game. No.
Okay, I gotta ask Richie Rich, what grounds or what bases are you saying the Vikings are going to beat us? Because of Jefferson? Well, did you forget that we have a top 5 defense last year? No, I don't see Vikings beating us. The only way the Vikings beat us, well, let me rephrase that. The only way the Broncos lose is we beat ourselves. Period.
That's right.
That's the only way we're going to lose. In my opinion, that's the only way we're going to lose. I agree with you on the first. I agree with you with the first two. Those two in prime time. I don't see going our way. Now, the fourth prime time is December 24th, Christmas Eve at home, a Sunday night game against the hated New England Patriots.
I think that's a win.
Yeah.
I don't think the Patriots are a very good team. I don't know if they plan on running the ball 50 times a game between Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott. But I just don't get what they're doing. You know, they've given Mac Jones almost no help. They might have the worst receiving core that I've ever seen. I could not tell you who their number one wide receiver is because I don't think they know. And they don't have one. I mean, their number one wide receiver, as thin as we are, their number one wide receiver would be maybe wide receiver 3, probably 4 here. And we're in a little bit of dire straits. That is not going to be a good team. I get that Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick, and it's going to be prime time. But something that I want to enlighten everybody about these kind of games. If you don't think that playing on the road around Christmas time and not being able to be with your family on Christmas Eve for a lot of these guys, if you think that doesn't impact them, then you don't pay attention to the human aspect of that game. Whether they try and block it out, they got to be tough. It's their job. I get it. But they're human beings. Yeah. That is a very difficult thing to say, I don't get to see my family on Christmas Eve. I mean, if they fly, like assuming the Patriots fly back that night, they're not going to get back home until 4 or 5 in the morning on Christmas morning. Yeah. That kind of stuff mentally messes with you, whether you're a professional athlete or not. And so I think as a fan, every once in a while, you have to take things like this into consideration and realize they're people. That's a really difficult time to play. Saying goodbye to your family, not being able to spend that family time, and it affects you mentally as a team. That's one of those games I could see if the Broncos come out fast and rip their spirit away early. It's exactly like what happened to the Broncos in LA last year. The Rams got on top of them early. It was a bad situation. Mentally, a lot of the guys, were out on Nathaniel Hackett. And it was like watching a car crash in slow motion. Yeah. And a lot of that had to do with just like the mental aspect of where everybody was coming from. So I think that's a win. I don't think it's a blowout, but I think it'll be sizable because that's just not a very good football team. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that takes care of the primetime. Following that game is a New Year's Day game. That's a Sunday afternoon game at home against the Chargers.
That seems to be the one division game that we consistently win, right?
Yeah.
We haven't beaten the Chiefs since 2015. I don't even want to talk about how long it's been since we beat the Raiders. And I think people forget that it's been a really long time because they're more worried about the Chiefs thing. But that's bad too. The one team that we consistently beat in our division, even though they're a really good team, is the Los Angeles Chargers. And I think that would continue.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. Okay. I'm going to get into 2 games that I think are very, very pivotal in the first half of the season. Okay. Very first game, 2 days or 1 week and 2 days from now, a week from Sunday, at home, opening up against the Raiders, who you just said we haven't beaten since, I don't know, 1908 or something.
Feels like it.
Yeah.
They have to win it. Plain and simple. That once again, that's a bad football team. Josh McDaniels has ripped that thing to shreds. I mean, they have Devontae Adams. That's pretty much it. They, for some reason, think that Jimmy Garoppolo was like a massive upgrade over Derek Carr. It's like, no, the dude's better looking, and that's literally it. That's the only thing that he's better at than Derek Carr. Like, I was psyched that Derek Carr was gone. And the only thing that scares me now is that they're going to be so bad that they're going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. And that is the absolute last thing that I want to have happen. But again, like, they got Max Crosby on the defense, who is absolutely one of the best defensive players in the NFL. And after that, it's a pretty steep drop off. You know, but that's how it's been. It's not like the Raiders have been a good team recently. The Broncos can beat them. But you have your home opener, the season opener, against this terrible team. Josh Jacobs got there late. Like, I'm sure he'll catch up, but he's not going to be in the same kind of shape as everybody else on that team. It's impossible because there's a difference between being in shape and being in football shape. And it's the same thing. Like, even if Chris Jones signs with the Chiefs here before the season, the first week or two, he's not going to be the same. And that's what I'm banking on with Jacobs. And Jacobs has been the Broncos killer. Like, that's the kind of dude where if he played against the Broncos every game of his career, the guy's a freaking Hall of Famer. For whatever reason, he kicks it into a second, third, and fourth gear when he plays against Denver. But I think that they win this game. Of course, I'm approaching it with trepidation because they, for whatever reason, have been on this skid against the Raiders. But if you want to make the playoffs this year and you want to turn the tides and become a better franchise and a better team. Yeah, Avatar said 2019, last time the Broncos beat the Raiders. Feels like forever ago. It's disgusting. Yeah, this was before COVID. That was like, COVID was like 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Anyway, they have to win. You have to go 1-0 in your division. You have to go 1-0 in your conference. You have to win your home games. And you sure as hell need to win your home games against your division opponents if you want to be taken seriously as a contender, period.
Now, we have the Raiders as bookends. So that starts the season. We end with the Raiders on January 6th or 7th. That's still set to be determined. At Vegas, do we beat them?
To me, the Raiders are going to be out of it at that point, and you really hope that the Broncos are still in it. I don't know how it's going to go. Hopefully, that's not a meaningless game. Hopefully, that game means something to the Broncos in that last week. And if I had to guess, it's not going to mean something to the Raiders. Unless it means if they lose, they get the first overall draft pick.
Oh, well, that's true too, yeah.
So here's the thing. The worst case scenario for that game is the Broncos have to win in order to get into the playoffs. But if the Raiders lose, they end up with the first overall pick and can thusly take Caleb Williams. Let's all get on our knees and pray to the Bronco gods and pray to Lucifer and John Elway and all of his car dealerships. Lord, baby Jesus, please do not let that be a situation. Because you want the Broncos to win, you want them to go to the preseason or to the postseason, to the playoffs for the first time since they won the Super Bowl. But you sure as shit don't want the Raiders drafting Caleb Williams. And Wannabes, I agree with you. I think the Cardinals absolutely have the number 1 overall pick. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think the Raiders are going to be bad too. And again, it's a far-fetched situation. We just have to pray that that's not what happens come week 18, that's not what we're looking at.
Exactly. Okay, I want to get into what I call the controversial game. If anybody's missed this and they've lived under a rock for the last offseason, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Sean Payton telling his players and his coaches, keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything to the media that can be bulletin board material or come back to hurt us. What does he do? He goes out and slams Nathaniel Hackett with the media, and now all of New York hates us. Do we win that game week 5 at Denver, October 8th?
I honestly don't know what to expect from the Jets. I think they have an extremely good defense. I thought their offense, obviously, last year was dog water, but they didn't have a quarterback. Now they have a very good quarterback. They have the reigning offensive and defense rookie of the years coming back. That is going to be a really difficult game. Now, I don't fully believe in bulletin board material unless it's something that's really bad. And so I would say the only benefit that the Broncos and Sean Payton have here, it's like by the time we get Cameron, grow up, Cameron. 69-0, he said. My God. Grow up, Cameron. Anyways, he completely threw me off my game. I don't know what to expect from them. We think their offense is going to be better. They have Breece Hall, who's very good, but he's coming off of injury. Is he going to be the same after that ACL tear? They have Dalvin Cook, but is he the same Dalvin Cook that we saw in Minnesota? The same guy that rushed for 1,000 yards, I believe, the last 4 seasons. There's a bit of a drop off at receiver. I mean, I know Rodgers brought over all of his buddies from Green Bay, Lazard and Cobb, but there's a pretty substantial drop off from Garrett Wilson to wide receiver 2. But again, their defense is all world. Quinnen Williams is an absolute superstar in the making, and it's going to be a tough game. I mean, shit, and all the stuff that Sauce Gardner gets away with, who knows what's going to happen. Yeah. I know for a fact, though, that if we do lose, it won't be because of clock mismanagement or settling for a 70-yard field goal or anything like that. If the Jets beat us that game, it's because they were straight up and down a better team.
No,
but I have a hard time. I have a hard time believing that an offense run by Nathaniel Hackett is going to be competent at all because I'm jaded. We should all be jaded after the crap that we saw last year. But the only thing about that, Bill, is he has Aaron Rodgers to fall back on. He just has to be his buddy. He doesn't even need to be a good coach. He's just friends with Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to say win because I'm drinking the orange Kool-Aid and I can't in good conscience think that we're going to be a playoff team and lose to the Jets. But that's going to be a tough game. That is going to be a really tough game to win. Yeah. It should be low scoring too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That one, as soon as I heard all the comments from Sean Payton and all the backlash and everything from the Jets, I circled that on my calendar and I said, oh boy, this to me is a pivotal game because I'm going to run and by you real quick. The first 4 leading up is Raiders, Commanders, Dolphins, Bears, Jets. If we don't take at least 3 out of the first 4, and then face the Jets, we're in trouble. And that's why I say it's a very pivotal game.
I 100% agree. And I think that's kind of that's the notion that's been going around, right? It's like, we've got to beat the Raiders. They should beat the Raiders. We have to beat the Commanders, and they should beat the Commanders. Miami's going to be tough. Miami, it is going to be a track meet. They're going to be in Miami. It is going to be at Miami. It is going to be hot as balls. Their defense is incredibly good. Our old pal Vic Fangio is calling the defense. I know Bronco fans don't love him. He is a hell of a defensive coordinator, and he's got some dogs down there in Miami. So that is an incredibly difficult game to give them a W, to predict a win. But yeah, they've got to come back and when they go back to Chicago, very winnable game. They've got to win that game. I think Chicago's still probably a year or 2 away. They're doing a good job of putting their building blocks in place and kind of building their team around Justin Fields, but they're still a little bit shaky on defense. They have DJ Moore, and then after that, their offensive weapons for Fields drop off a little bit. And that's a tough place to play. It's going to be tough to go to Chicago, but you have to win that game. They're not a very good football team yet. And so I'm with you. They absolutely have to be at the worst a one-loss team going into week 5.
Okay, I'm going to run you through all the games, and I just want you to say win or lose. We're not doing points, right? Win or lose. I just want to get your
win.
take.
Every game win.
Well, that's what I think going. That's what I think going into every season. It's like, hey,
always
we could be 17-0. Why not? I mean, there's been 2 teams that've been undefeated. Only one, Miami, went all the way. But anyways, get into this win or lose. I want to get your take on what your prediction is. I'm not going to say mine because I'm going to do that next week. But I will say, I kind of agree. So they'll be somewhere in the ballpark, one or two opposite of yours, maybe dead on. Here we go. Okay. Raiders.
Win.
Okay. Commanders.
Win.
Dolphins.
Loss.
Okay, that's 1 and 2. I mean 2 and 1. Bears.
Win.
3 and 1. Jets.
Loss.
Ooh, 3 and 2. Okay. Kansas City, the one that you said at Kansas City.
Loss.
3 and 3 after the first 6. Wow.
Yep.
That's tough to swallow. At home against Green Bay.
Win.
Okay, 4 and 3. At home against Kansas City.
Win.
5 and 3. Then we have our bye.
Yep.
Then we go to Buffalo.
Loss.
5 and 4. Vikings.
Win.
6 and 4. Browns.
Win.
7 and 4. Win. Texans.
Big time win.
Okay, at Texas.
Yep. Oh yeah, Texans won't be good this year.
8 and 4. 8 and 4. At Chargers.
I'm gonna say loss.
8 and 5. At Lions.
Loss.
Ooh, 8 and 6.
They're a good team. They're a really good team.
Home against Patriots.
Win.
9 and 6. At home against Chargers.
Win.
10 and 6. At Raiders.
Win.
11 and 6.
You see, I tried so hard to be fair, and they still ended up with 11 wins, and that was exactly what I predicted. And I don't care that it's boisterous, and I'm still drinking the orange Kool-Aid, and I don't care because there were some times that I wanted to say win, and there were 500 there early on. Mm-hmm. They caught fire at the end of the season. I think that's their silly though. To be perfectly honest. I don't really see a world where they win more than 11 games. Right? Yeah. Hold on. Cameron, the Lions aren't a trap game. A trap game is when a really good team plays a really bad team, okay? The Lions are a really good team. The Broncos are a above average to hopefully good team this year, okay? That is not a trap game. Unless the Lions have 1 or 2 losses and the Broncos are under 500. And then the Broncos go in and beat him. That's a trap game. Cameron, do your homework.
You need to address
this is how you. But Bill, this is how you know that Cameron is a Nebraska fan because he says stupid stuff like that. Only a Nebraska fan would say. And Mundungus, that's what Mundungus is saying down here. Right
here.
That's bold. That's bold right there.
For
win against the Chiefs on the road, loss at home. You know what? As long as they split with the Chiefs, then I'm fine with it.
But my thing is, it's harder to win on the road in Kansas City than it would be to win at home against Kansas City. Don't you think?
Yeah.
So, I don't understand, but maybe he's saying it's because it's prime time, but still, I mean, prime time for Kansas City, they're going to get up for that.
Let me tell you what, though. If he's right and if we end this godforsaken streak in Kansas City on prime time.
That would be
so I'm flying out there. I'm not going to that game because it's it's in the middle of the week. I got to get back to work. But the game will end when I land back in Denver on Thursday night. If the Broncos win that game, I will pop my ass back on that plane. I will fly back to Kansas City. I will get an empty water bottle. I will collect the tears of the Chiefs fans, and I will drink them, and their anguish will sustain me, and I will down that with a half rack of ribs and brisket, and then I'll fly my happy ass back to Denver.
Wow. Now that is what I'm calling a dedicated true Bronco fan that's going to go that far.
I will drink their tears. I've waited too long to not do it.
Yeah. Cameron here, he's shouting out again. It'll be insufferable if they win. And
Me too. Me
Yep.
too. I'm going to get a whole bunch of Chiefs fans on my ass, boy. Let me tell you that. Mundungus, I know you're a Nebraska fan, man. Okay? Like, you're a great person, but no one's perfect. And, you know, at some point of our lives, we all make bad decisions. Okay? I used to have frosted tips. And again, we make bad decisions.
I thought you said something else for a minute.
On.
You said
frosted tips. Back
No,
when I had hair. Back when I had hair. Okay, I blonde. I blonde tips.
We're twins.
See, look at that, Bill.
I like it. Like it.
So look, Mundungus, just because you've made a very poor life choice and decided to be a Nebraska fan doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person who made a really bad decision about one thing one time.
I'm not going to be able to have you back on ever again. Mike's going to shut it down.
It's not you, Bill. Mike, I'm going to give you a free treatment when you come out here, and it'll be okay. We'll be all good.
Speaking of treatments, that's great segue, man. Great segue. During this off season, have you encountered and had any really good stories of anybody that's come in or that you can share without getting too deep?
I don't have any great stories in terms of that, but I will say I've worked on Brandon Johnson a couple of times, and first of all, coolest guy, so awesome, unbelievably humble. And I found out, and I think it was like watching the preseason game, they said that his dad was Charles Johnson, the catcher who he played professional baseball.
Right.
Upon a time, Charles Johnson played for the Colorado Rockies. This was back in, I want to say like 96 or 97. Okay. When Charles Johnson was a Colorado Rocky, he held a catching camp in Denver. I was a catcher and an outfielder and a few other things, but I love playing catcher in baseball. So my dad, knowing like I followed the Rockies closer than anybody. Like I probably knew as much about the Rockies as the Broncos. I was all in on baseball back then. That was my sport. Okay. Played baseball all through high school, a little bit in college. I went to Charles Johnson's camp to learn how to be a catcher. And sure enough, now almost 30 years later, 25 years later, I am working on his son in my office.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't know how cool of a story that is. I know it's not as
That
good
is
as
cool.
some of the ones that I usually have, but I mean, I thought that was like, what a small world, right? And this is funny. I was actually talking to Brandon today. Somebody had found some old tweet from Ocho Cinco where he basically said that he's cousins with Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson, Ocho Cinco are cousins. And so it's so funny. I brought that up to him, and I was like, "Hey man, I heard something funny today." And he's like, "Yeah, what's that?" I was like, "You're related to Ocho Cinco?" And he laughs. He's like, "Man, how'd you find that out?" I was like, "Yeah, someone dug up some old tweet on Twitter, and then Ocho responded, was like, 'Oh yeah, you didn't know that?'" And so I asked him. I was like, "Dude, what is it with the McDonald's? I gotta know." Here's the thing, man. I would love to eat McDonald's every meal. I would. I love McDonald's, but it makes me feel like crap. And if I have a Big Mac, my ass jiggles for a week. Okay. So I absolutely cannot do that. Oh, Mundungus, I'll answer that question in a second. The weirdest gift that I've ever received at work. Okay. We'll make me say it. We'll get there. But I asked him about the McDonald's and he's like, that's all real. He has it literally every single day. And I asked him, I was like, are you like that? And he said, no, like in college I was, but then I straightened out my diet. He's like, I used to be all about it too, just because he was. And he's like, he's just one of those dudes that's built different. He's one of these rare guys, kind of like how we were talking about Javonte.
Right.
Chad Ochocinco can eat McDonald's every single day and look the way that he does.
Wow.
Must be nice.
Wow.
Yeah, must be nice. So, and then to answer Mike's question, Glendolyn, anonymously, and until he admitted it, sent me this big ass cylinder box. Okay. The thing is 2.5 feet long. Okay. And right on the label, real big letters, it says penis pump 3000. This man had that package sent to my office, my place of work. The mailman saw it, thought it was hilarious. Front desk girl saw it, thought it was hilarious. Showed a bunch of people in the waiting room. They all thought it was hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
So then they brought it up, right? But what do? I don't get mad at jokes because I love a good joke. So when people try and bring it up, I say, hey, it worked.
There you go. Oh my gosh.
So that's the weirdest gift I've ever gotten. No, and it was nothing. I was like, man, you're gonna prank me with an empty box? At least put the penis pump in it.
well, I don't even want to know what he did with that or where it went. I don't even want to
Glenn
know.
kept it. I knew it. Glenn, give me the penis pump back, Glenn.
Good gosh. Like I said many times, guys, on this show, whenever I bring Mario on, you never know what direction it's going to go. Oh, my gosh.
You know, blame
dude.
Mundungus for that. That was Mundungus's fault.
Oh, my gosh. That is classic. Hey, Kamani. I always got to give a shout out to Kamani. He just got married. So, Kamani, man, glad to have you in the house, man. Hope everything's going well with your new marriage. Hope everything's going great. Oh man.
So, Kamani, thanks for listening and thanks for watching, man. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Okay. Mario, you got anything? Oh, before we get out of here, one more thing about your show, the altitude adjustment. Please let everyone know when it's going to happen or whether how you're going to let people know or put it on Twitter or
it'll be on Twitter and it'll actually be on the That's Good Broncos YouTube channel. So Brandon Perna, he does a podcast every single week, the That's Good Broncos podcast. They added on recently the Let's Talk Broncos podcast onto his channel. Zach Seegers, JR Drafts, Bree Maces, they do an absolutely phenomenal job. Easily one of my favorite podcasts, and it's so great that they've been able to go from Mile High Sports and just went up to that next level, and we're able to join Brandon Perna. And I was fortunate enough for Brandon to reach out to me, ask if I wanted to do a show, which is something I've been wanting to do a really long time and just wanted, the right opportunity and the right platform and for the timing to be right. And it all, like, the stars kind of align. So I'm going to try my best to get that episode posted sometime this weekend. And yeah, we're going to go from there. I'm going to try my best to do one video a week, and absolutely at some point you're going to get a crossover of the altitude adjustment along with the LTB crew, and hopefully programs too.
Cool. So you're going to be talking about different things, or you're talking about the work you do, or what exactly? Do you know?
No, I mean, it'll be kind of dependent on the season. Like, obviously with Broncos season about to start, I'm going to try my best to kind of keep it Broncos in the most Mario way possible. Some people love it, some people hate it, and that's just how it is, right? Hopefully more people love it than hate it, but at the end of the day, as long as people are watching, I don't really care.
Exactly. I totally agree. That's how I feel about my show too. As long as people are watching, I got people in the chat that comment.
Yeah, talk crap all you want. I don't care. I do have one more thing, Bill, like a fun little anecdote before we get out of here. Sure. This mic isn't plugged into anything. I just did it for the aesthetic. I have like an actual mic right here off camera. Nice little blue snow. I think it's called a snowball.
Oh my gosh, Mario, you're something else, dude. That's classic, man.
This actually, this was just for. It just looks really good. So that's why we did it.
That is absolutely icing on this show for sure. That is absolutely.
That's why I hold it out here. It still sounds the same.
I don't know why I didn't pick that up, man.
The cord is off screen.
No, I know that, but I mean, you made it look good, like it was right by your eyes. So that's so classic.
It's just fun to play with,
I'm not going down that road either.
Who's the ring announcer? Does it have it come down like this?
Let's
get ready to rumble.
See, hey, you're a voiceover fill-in. Perfect.
Oh my God,
that's
my dream. That's my dream. If someone would pay me to just like read, basically.
Cameron.
Yeah. Cam, it's not a lie. It's called a misdirect. Okay, Cameron?
Oh my gosh, dude. Glenn should have used a penis pump 3000 for
Glenn is officially banned from ever watching the show again and from entering the chat.
Oh my gosh.
And Glenn, you're banned from my office, Glenn. And so are any of your packages. And you can take that term any way you want. No more Glenn packages around me or near me ever again.
Oh my gosh, this is absolute keeper of a show. I gotta download this to my
chaos.
So much fun. Oh, so much fun, man. Awesome. Mario, it's been a pleasure as always to have you on the show. I always look forward to when you're on because I know it's just going to be one of those type of shows that just goes crazy off the rails.
Like all over the place.
Times, so it's great. Always glad to have you. I'd like to have you back on again.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm still doing the mic bit. Thank you so much for having me, Bill. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll connect again about halfway through the season, maybe on the bye week or something like that. We can evaluate the first half of the season. For everybody,
I'm here for it.
Absolutely. For everybody in the chat, I'd like to go down through all the names. There's quite a few. So you guys all know who you are. I'm not trying to not say who they are, but I don't want to take any more of Mario's time. I know he's a busy guy and he's got family and all that. So without any further ado, Mario, thanks once again for being on the show. Greatly appreciate it. We'll have you back once again. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Labor Day. Everybody out there, take care. Till next time, until next Friday. Bye-bye.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go.